The opinions expressed are those of the show's host and not the staff or management of Port St. Lucie Broadcasters. Any reproduction without written consent of WSTU and WPSL is strictly prohibited. Now it's time for Quality of Life Radio, brought to you by Cigna and Aetna Medicare. Here are your hosts, Gary Owen and Tom Bouvier.
Hello, Treasure Coast. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in on another extraordinary Quality of Life radio show. I am your host, Gary Owen, president of Owen Insurance Group.
And I'm your co-host, Tom Bouvier.
And we are streaming live the day after Labor Day. So we hope that all of you had a great Labor Day holiday, a safe Labor Day, and a wonderful extended weekend. So congratulations for joining us this morning. Hopefully you're tuning in on Facebook Live or tuning in on WSTU 1450 and WPSL 1590, or if you're tuning in from one of the 47 countries, you're probably tuning in and growing. Maybe soon will be 1,000 countries.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know if there's that many countries out there, but anyway, we appreciate you tuning in, and we are here every single Tuesday morning because we're on a mission. And Tom, that mission is
to bring relevant content. We try to have fun on this show, so if we add a little humor, just humor us.
We never have fun.
Well, we try to, and we try to bring you relevant content that will actually help and improve your life. Gary, you and I, we have a lot of knowledge in our big brains, and we love to share that knowledge as it relates.
They call us fatheads.
That's why they call us fatheads. That's the nice things they call us, right? But the information that we have is about important insurance planning. I mean, who loves to plan for insurance? Who loves to shop for insurance? Nobody does. Oh, you do? Okay.
I like to.
Yeah, Pinocchio. No, not really. But we're going to help you avoid the pitfalls. We're going to give transparency, honesty, the no-plop zone, as we call it. There's going to be good old-fashioned straight talk that'll enhance and improve your quality of life. And the mission at Owen Insurance Group, if you haven't heard it before, it's to simplify insurance planning so you can live the stress-free life that you deserve.
And, Tom, you deserve it.
Thank you.
They deserve it. Iggy deserves it.
Our producer deserves it, yes.
I deserve it. We all deserve to have a great quality of life and stress-free. And the way to do that is to call Owen Insurance Group at 772-210-1020. We are here as a resource for you. You're your local agency. And when I say local, we're here in the state of Florida. We represent all of Floridians and also licensed in 42 other states throughout the country, so we can help. And if you've got questions, feel free to pick up the phone, give us a call, stop by the office, send us an email, or send us a smoke signal, right? There are so many ways to be able to reach out to us. Also, today we're going to be talking a little bit about IRA and PDP. And what does that mean for you for 2024? So IRA is the Inflation Reduction Act, and what's going to happen in 2024 with your prescription drug plans? Because, Tom, you and I talked about this on previous shows, right?
We have.
This has done a great thing for consumers. Medicare beneficiaries who are on prescription drug plans. We know that the government's going to hold the prescription drug companies, the manufacturers, and the pharmacy benefit managers hold their feet to the fire and get involved in price negotiations on some drugs, lower the cost and the out-of-pocket of drugs. But we alluded earlier, Tom, at our previous shows, what could potentially happen. And what could potentially happen is
it could all blow up.
The prices can blow up, the premiums can go up, and we can start seeing no more co-pays, $0 co-pays on your Tier 1 and or Tier 2 drugs. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Before we do that, I'm going to share a quote of the day, and I think this is really awesome. It's really powerful. I never thought of this before, but, man, this is really cool. Hate has how many letters?
4.
Love also has 4 letters. Enemies, 7 letters. But so does friends. Lying has 5 letters, but so does truth.
Ooh, that's good.
Cry has 3 letters, but so does joy. Negativity has 10 letters, but so does positivity. Life is two-sided. Choose the better side of it.
Ooh,
Isn't
that's
that
good.
beautiful?
It's like live on the sunny side of life. 'Cause
I love sunny side up.
that's right. You got the dark cloud, but then you got the clear skies.
And
So.
it's it seems like it's a human way, right, to always look at the dark side, or ponder on the dark side, or ponder on the things that are negative and not on so much on the positive. But man, that really hit home for me today, this morning when I found that quote, and I'm like, okay, this is the quote for this show today.
That's great.
All right,
Great
so let's get right into the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and how that is going to affect you and your prescription drugs for 2024. Now, we know that President Biden signed into law the Inflation Drug Act in August, actually August 16th of 2022. And so that is going to help lower the cost of prescription drugs. Now, we've talked many times on this show how important it is because the United States of America pays the highest prices for drugs than any other country in the world.
And we're the ones primarily that created them. The research and development.
Correct.
Most of them are birthed in the United States.
So what a disconnect that is, it seems like. I'm not sure I
something
understand
is going on. Yeah.
But we know that it's going to reduce the federal deficit. It's projected, the CBO is estimating that the drug pricing provisions in the law will reduce the federal deficit to the tune of $237 billion over 10 years. And there are 7 basic provisions related to the Inflation Drug Act and the prescription drug. So number 1, Tom, would be what? You don't have that one. To require the federal government to negotiate prices for some drugs covered under Medicare Part B and Part D with the highest total spending. And that will begin in 2026. Second, to require drug companies to pay rebates to Medicare if prices rise faster than inflation for drugs used by Medicare beneficiaries, and that begins this year in 2023. Number 3, to cap out-of-pocket spending for Medicare Part D enrollees and make other Part D benefit design changes beginning in 2024. And we are going to see a cap on the catastrophic phase for prescription drug plans. And then in 2025, the maximum out of pocket that Medicare beneficiaries, this is exciting for most Medicare beneficiaries. News. Yes, for good news. But is it good news? We think it will be. But we know that you're going to be paying higher premiums, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But in 2025, your Part D drug plans will be capped at $2,000, and then every year it will be adjusted after that. Number 4 is to limit monthly cost sharing for insulin down to $35 for people with Medicare, and that already began, of course, here in 2023. And that doesn't mean that all insulin are covered at that price, but the bulk majority are covered at a $35 copay per month on your insulin. And then number 5, eliminate cost sharing for adult vaccines covered under Medicare Part D and improve access to adult vaccines in Medicaid and CHIP beginning in 2023. Number 6, to expand eligibility for full benefits under the Medicare Part D LIS, or Low Income Subsidy Program. That begins in 24. And then 7, further delay implementation of the Trump administration's drug rebate rule beginning in 2027. So let's talk about the 10 drugs, because before we get to the premium increases that we're expecting to happen, in fact, we've got the first looks from some of the Medicare carriers already, but one of the things that they're going to be talking about is price negotiation on the top drugs that consumers are using today. And Tom, we got a notification on this from the Medicare Drug Price Negotiation Program, and this is going to be applicable not until 2026. So let's talk about some of those drugs and the costs that those drugs cost per year. Insane.
The number one
Crazy.
medication, and I've literally had 3 of my clients from last week and this week who has brought up this particular medication, and that's the great drug called Eliquis. It's a blood thinner. It's used in the prevention and treatment of blood clots. A lot of people with heart attacks, strokes, or potential for those things, the doctors have put them on Eliquis because it's a medication that can keep your blood thin without having to do a lot of the testing that some of the other drug thinners, such as warfarin and
right.
such, have people have had. So Eliquis is still a brand medication. So there's no real. There's technically there's always a generic, but it's not out there on the public market right now. So Eliquis is a brand. It's very expensive. Here in the United States, it's going to be upwards of $15 to $18 per pill. However, you can get a brand medication from other countries, and boy, I don't even want to tell you how low. But literally, it could be about $1, $1.50 per medication, per tablet.
And before you go on, let me just say that there are a number of other drug companies like Canadian Med Store, like GoodRx, Cost Plus Drugs. There's about a dozen of these types of companies out there that if you're having a hard time affording the drug here in the United States, even with your drug plan, there are alternatives out there for you. Again, we are here as a resource. Use us as your resource.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, again, I've helped 2 of those 3 have actually consulted with me about alternative ways to get their medication as opposed to going through their drug plan. Of course, the first month typically would have a high deductible, and after that, copay, and then quickly go into the donut hole where it's still expensive.
Right.
Paying 25% of the cost of the medication is still there are other alternatives. So, give us a call, 772-210-1020, if you have expensive medications, one of them being Eliquis.
And by the way, the cost of drugs, I don't know if you mentioned this, maybe I missed it, didn't hear it, $17 billion in 1 year. $17 billion. And the drug companies are crying because they're going to lose money because the government's going to hold their feet to the fire in some of these drug costs. Come on. Come on. Almost
4 million Medicare beneficiaries are on Eliquis, 3.7. So almost 4 million. Unbelievable. And every day it seems like I have new clients.
Yeah.
Eliquis, heart conditions. So.
Well, we're glad to see that there are some positive changes coming. The next one I'll cover, Tom, is Jardiance, which is, again, for diabetes and heart failure. And over $7 billion a year is being spent with Jardiance, and over 1.5 million people currently using, and probably more than that, are using Jardiance. So there's 2.
There's 2. And the third is Xarelto. That one also is used for the prevention and treatment of blood clots, reduction of risk for patients with coronary or peripheral artery disease, so it has to do with the blood, keeping it thin. Just over $6 billion, and that's only from June, for a year, June 2022 through May 2023. So for a full year, $7 billion on one medication. I can't wrap my head around it. 1.3, almost 1.4 million Medicare beneficiaries are using that medication.
Number 4 is another drug for diabetes, is Genevia, and that cost a year for that drug is over about $4.1 billion, with almost 1 million people a year using that drug.
Next is Farxiga.
Farxiga!
We've been seeing commercials about that. That's for diabetes, heart failure, chronic kidney disease. Over $3 billion, and about 800,000 people are on that are on Medicare.
And then next is Entresto. Entresto is primarily used for heart failure. There's been nearly $3 billion a year being spent on that specific drug. Next, Tom.
Enbrel. It's for rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, and psoriatic arthritis. So that's about almost $2.8 billion per year.
And for blood cancers is a drug called Imbruvica, and right now there's about $2.7 billion a year being spent on that drug. And then next
is Stelara. That's for psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis.
And then the last one, number 10, again, another one for diabetes. Man, there must be a diabetes problem in the United States.
Well, I see heart and diabetes, heart and diabetes, heart, and then rheumatoid and arthritis. So, if all this money was spent on preventative, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Wow.
And I'm not trying to preach to you out there, but
I
am preaching to you out there. Nutrition and exercise in our lifestyle.
It goes a long way.
It goes a long way. I tell you what, so many people I know who have made some changes in their life, they'll come back and say, oh my gosh, I am so happy. My doctor took me off of my medications. I'm no longer on this medication or that medication.
Exhilarating. Liberating.
It's liberating, and hey, you'll help the Medicare Trust Fund if you're on Medicare. Instead of saying, well, I got put on this drug so I can keep eating how I want or not exercising, well, hey, listen.
I mean, it's a shame. I mean, it seems like
quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of Americans have become sedentary. And I'll tell you, I lost 15 pounds. And when I lost those 15 pounds, I will tell you that my blood pressure has never been better since I've lost that weight.
Amazing.
Unfortunately, I'm getting some of it back. I can't do that. I actually lost 23 pounds, but I need to stay under a certain weight. If I know I can do that, if I eat right, watch what I eat, exercise, don't sit on the couch and be a movie buff, but get out there, be active, proactive, and I guarantee you start losing some weight, your health is going to get better. But again, but we're not preaching. You all know what to do. We're not here. I mean, you all know what to do. But put your big boy panties on and get out there and start exercising, start walking, and be proactive if you care about your quality of life.
That's right. And consult a doctor before you get into some kind of exercise program. We're not doctors. We're not giving medical advice, but just some common sense advice that every doctor would tell you to do.
Yeah.
So,
Dr. Tom, thank you for that.
Dr. Bouvier, that is.
And this year, Tom, the troop, talk about troop. What is troop? Not the Boy Scout troop. What does troop mean for Medicare drug plans?
Yeah, so there's several terminologies used in the Part D prescription drug plan with Medicare, and troop is what's called the true out-of-pocket. It's all the money that has been spent toward the cost of a drug. It includes what you pay maybe for a deductible, for your co-pays, what the insurance company pays, what a manufacturer discount combines to pay during the coverage gap, and the full amount of money that is being spent on medication is called the true out-of-pocket expenses.
And we will see, very good, and then we will see that cost in 2024 going down and averaging about $3,300.
Oh, wow. That's very nice.
$3,300, right, will be your basic out-of-pocket cost. And then, as we just mentioned previously, in 2025, the maximum out-of-pocket for drug plans will be $2,000. So we're getting down there, right? We're getting there. It's taking time. In those top 10 drugs that we spoke about before, that's going to be the very first initial set of drugs. And then after that, they're going to do another set of 10 and 15 drugs. So we're excited to see that the government is now getting involved and holding the task these prescription drug companies and trying to limit those exorbitant, ridiculous out-of-pocket costs for our Medicare beneficiaries.
Yeah, and what blows me away is that for all these years, Medicare has not been able to negotiate drug costs with these pharmacies. I don't understand why, so maybe there's an answer. I'm sure there is an answer, whether they're just lining the pockets of all the politicians. That's the cynical view, potentially the truth. I don't know. But
somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the
Could
middle.
be the truth.
But I tell you what, it blows me away that they've not been able to negotiate so far.
So, again, beginning in 2025, unfortunately, we've got to wait another year and a half, but a year and 4 months. But beginning in 2025, those 10 drugs that Tom and I just went over will be addressed and negotiated, and then the new prices will take effect 2 years after that in 2027. And then in 2026, 15 more additional drugs, and Part B and D drugs, will be negotiated, and that new price set will be in 2028. And then in 2027, 20 additional Part B and Part D drugs will be negotiated to take place and reset at 2029. And finally in 2028, and then every year thereafter, 20 additional Part B and D drugs will be negotiated, and the new price will take effect in 2030.
Right, and just from a historical perspective, so everyone understands, because you think, boy, it's really why it's taking so long, or this is so slow. Medicare did not have a prescription drug plan until 2006. Previous to 2006, so from 1966, when Medicare came along, till 2006, that's 40 years of Medicare, people were on their own for prescription drugs, and it wasn't until 2006 that Part D was introduced into Medicare.
Listen, we know that the drug companies spend a lot of money on R&D. We know that there's a lot of risks involved, but we also know that the government gives them a lot of money to help with R&D as well. But there's got to be a common sense approach. Oh my God, did I just say common sense for the government?
It's not very common out there.
There's got to be a common sense approach with CMS and the drug manufacturers to come and sit at the table and have an honest-to-God negotiation and work on a common goal for the good of the American people. That's my humble opinion. And then we said we were going to talk about pricing. I'm not sure I understand how the prices could go up 42 to 58 or 100%, but Tom and I have just spent the last couple of days doing these carrier rollouts and inquiring of the carriers as to what the new drug premiums are going to be, and most of them kind of don't really want to have that conversation. But we are seeing there may be one or two premiums we might see stay the same or stay steady, but the majority of the drug premiums, the drug plans that we see today are going to go up. One's going up 42%. We saw another drug company raising their rates 58%, and yet another drug company has gone up over 100% increase on the Part D drug premiums. So again, Tom and I, we called this on our radio show months ago that if the government is going to restrict how much money that drug manufacturers are going to pay, they're going to find a way to get their money. And that one way is to raise the premiums on your drug plans, double those premiums. But again, we're going to see soon the cap happening in 2024. Next year, maybe $3,300 max out of pocket. In 2025, $2,000 out of pocket. But it does not include the premium.
No, it does not.
Does not include the premium. That's the caveat. So again, it sounds good, but then again, we don't know what the premiums are going to be, especially in 2025. If what we see happening in 2024, this year coming, with the drug prices going up, 40, 50, 80, over 100%, God only knows what's going to happen in 2025. 2025. And we'll probably also see the Tier 1, Tier 2 co-pays go away from zero, and there'll start being some co-pays.
And subject to a deductible, potentially.
And most likely, most of them now will have to hit. You'll have to hit the deductible. But anyway, time will tell. We will see that. But you will hear it here first on the Quality of Life Radio Show. If you have questions, again, as I said before, you could utilize us as a resource. If you need help, please give us a call at 772-210-1020. Next week's show, we are going to talk about AEP and how that's going to affect, the AEP meaning the annual election period, and how that's going to affect your Part D enrollment, for Medicare Advantage plans, and so forth. So stay tuned for next week's show when Tom and I will be back and talk to you about that. So we are already at the end of our show, so stay tuned. Coming up next is a Brian Kilmeade Show. Thank you for tuning in to the world-famous Quality of Life Radio Show. Please share us with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your golf buddies, your bridge partners, everybody that you know. Share the Quality of Life Radio Show. And remember, stay safe, keep healthy, be happy, and enjoy your quality of life.